Everybody up here. How does class start?
49. No, 49. 49.
We're good. Okay. Back up here.
Are you like timing everything?
No.
No. I just need to keep track of where we're at. What are some things that you were learning from the trays about how science works?
People don't get along.
I'm going to add the word always.
I'm just going to choose In real science, there's no way to cheat. You can't procrastinate.
What does procrastinate mean?
So put it off to the last minute.
What did you say when you're talking to me?
It's harder than it was.
In what ways is science harder than it looks? Okay.
On TV shows, you always see the people just randomly mixing chemicals when they want as scientists. It's not that easy.
Okay. How else are you realizing that science is harder than you thought, or than it looks?
Because there you're just watching them and then it looks like it's just whatever. But then once you like try to do it, because we really need to think about the next step, and nobody's going to tell us what the next step is.
Okay. What else can we add to this list?
If you're in groups, some people don't work on it and then they take credit for it.
I'm going to say take credit without work. Joey.
There are many different pathways.
And if there's many different pathways, what does that say about the scientific method?
There is no one. There is no science.
There's many scientific methods.
Specific one.
Okay. Now, there are some commonalities in what you guys are doing. What are some of the things that are in common between the different groups?
They're working on.
We're using the same materials.
Okay.
We're testing out our ideas.
Okay.
They're trying to figure out the same problem. Or
How are you testing your ideas? Or what are you basing your ideas on? Sorry.
evidence.
Okay. And so even though the scientific method, there's no one way to go about doing it, there are some things that all scientists are doing. They're looking for evidence, they're testing their ideas, things like that. What else can we add to this list?
Well, some people put more effort into their work than others. Competition?
In what way are you guys competing?
Who gets it first?
I know that you may not think this, but there are some groups that are really trying hard on this because they want to be the first one to figure it out, and they want to be right. And that, to some extent, is a competition. I'm going to add one up here. Science is messy. What do you think that means?
Dirty.
That means scientists play dirty. Like a sport, they like
like that.
people.
Scientists
On
try
the way
to
to
cheat.
What you say?
Scientists try to cheat.
Okay. Now, in some ways, I agree that scientists, like all human beings, they're open to things like kicking people while they're down, sabotaging other people, things like that. But I'm talking about science as a process is messy.
studying nature while in nature. When you fell in mud, then I guess.
Okay. And so scientists can get messy. So let me messy slash confusing slash complicated.
Oh, I get it now.
So what does that mean?
Oh, it means that it's confusing and complicated.
Yeah. Thanks. But in what way are you learning that from the trace?
Oh, because your ideas aren't always going to work, and it's really confusing that way because you think it's right, but then others prove you wrong and stuff like that.
Everybody different ideas?
A piece of evidence might not fit,
With what?
like with your theory and like what you were like sure on. And law.
Okay. So if you get a new piece of evidence that doesn't fit with your idea, that could be really frustrating. Going back to what Joey said, he said more than one idea could exist. So to me, how could two people look at the same evidence and come up with two different ideas?
Different minds.
It's just an answer.
Everybody's different.
Different minds.
Okay.
They might get
They have different point of views.
Okay.
they might get the same evidence, but they may be tested out different.
Okay. And so, the point I want to make is that a lot of people say the evidence tells us our answers. But that's not true. Where do we get our answers from?
Your head.
Everywhere. Evidence. Your test. Evidence.
Where else besides the evidence do the answers have to come from? Because
Our minds.
Your head.
what role does your mind play?
It has to think of the idea.
Okay. What did you say? Okay. And that goes back to the puzzle piece, the puzzle example that we used earlier, like a few weeks ago. You got all this evidence that are pieces of the puzzle. But who has to put the puzzle together? The scientists. They got to figure out how it all fits together. Now, what kinds of processes are they using when they're putting the puzzle pieces together?
Organization.
That would be to get the puzzle pieces. To get the information. Once you have the information and the data, what do you have to do to come up with the idea?
Evidence together.
Put it together.
What?
Put it together.
Okay. What?
Analyze.
Compose it. That's interesting because when you think of composing, you usually think of like creating music or even composing a poem, which are creative things. In what way is science creative?
Because you have to come up with the idea and then you lost me.
Joey, what were you going to say?
The idea.
Okay. How else do you use creativity in science?
Like, you can't put up with it, so you have to imagine what's like.
Okay.
Your process
What do you mean?
of how you figure it out.
Okay.
To come up with an idea that supports all your evidence.
Okay. So what questions do you guys have about any of these ideas?